Western Cape Judge President and Mkhonto Wesizwe Parliamentary Leader John Hlophe has been designated by the National Assembly to serve on the Judicial Service Commission 5 months after his removal from the bench for gross misconduct. The JSC is made up of 23 members. It is tasked with assessing and recommending potential judge candidates, but also with considering complaints against judges. Barnabus Xulu is the Managing Director of JG and Xulu Incorporated, and he's also Dr. Hlophe's legal representative and joins me now. Mr. Xulu, good morning to you. Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it so much. There's been so much tumult around Dr. John Hlophe, and these developments this week are important. They're significant in his life and career. I was watching him in another interview where he was being asked, you know, would you choose between the bench and now sitting and being in Parliament? And I think he said, I'm actually happy to be in Parliament. So it'd be interesting to hear what his reaction is to the developments on Tuesday.
Look, it's part of the duties that, good morning to the viewers at home, and good morning, Imam. Look, it's part of the journey. There's nothing new, really, but it's part of the journey. It's just a different platform. He is our client. I mean, he's a strong proponent of transformation, and he has done so in flying colors, actually, in the judiciary as a whole. And he is now joining the parliament. He happens to be the leader of one political party. And he'll be carrying on with his transformative mission. That's what he says, because, I mean, he has done it excellently. And
is he happy?
He's happy. He's happy that now it's a different platform, really. Yeah. But the mission remains the same. That's what he says. The mission remains the same, which is transformation, land issues, and the injustices, addressing the injustices which have remained in this country from apartheid years. And you can see the turmoil that has come up now is because of an apartheid judge who has administered apartheid laws, and he thinks even now he can still carry on perpetuating this apartheid mentality.
Just explain more on that point.
So what is happening is there are cases that are currently pending in the South Gauteng and in the Constitutional Court. These cases, when they could not be decided, because the state have refused the funding of the litigation itself.
Are you talking with regards to Dr. Hlophe's own litigation? Exactly. And it comes in two parts. The one is against the appeal against the JSC's decision, and then raising the matter, then the consequent impeachment itself going directly to the Constitutional Court. Exactly. You believe that it's tinged with racism, and this is where his recourse is now going to lie.
Exactly. I mean, the very same person that we're talking about, who is leading actually the organization or the NGO that is perpetuating this, has been found guilty by the Judicial Service Commission, which was properly constituted, and he was ordered to apologize to our client, and he didn't, and nothing is happening, and there was no outcry even from the very same organization that is claiming now to be the most constitutionalist kind of organization that is protecting the Constitution. That said nothing. He is convicted in a way by the Judicial Service Commission, and he has ignored everything that Judicial Service Commission has ordered him to do.
Right. Barnabus, I want to keep it with relation to Dr. John Hlophe himself. And I know you're a reading man, so you've seen all of the negative press around this decision. He has courted controversy. He's characterized as, being the wearer of this ignominious title in South Africa, one of only 2 post-apartheid judges to have been impeached. It's an ignominious title. There's political distrust. There's public distrust. There's all this negative press around Dr. John Hlophe. How does he plan? What's his strategy in planning on rebuilding that trust?
Well, I will not be involved in that, but safe to say that it is not correct that it is only negative. There is also positive about it.
Well, I'm focusing just on the negative,
on the
right? So,
on the negative, you see, if he were to be focused on the negative, he wouldn't be where he is now if he was focused on the negative, because it was always been a concerted effort from a particular sector. It's not a general, but it is coming from a particular sector that enjoys the coverage from these platforms immensely. This is my first interview in any event about this matter, but you've had several of them, starting from when he was appointed. Yeah. There's several interviews that have been held about this, and this negativity has been perpetuated by these platforms. But there is positives, as you know, that he is there in Parliament, having been elected by a particular constituency, and I'm sure they trust him to carry out, as he has taken the oath in terms of Section 48 of the Constitution, and that is positive. If he were to focus on the negatives, I don't think he would obviously be there, because, I mean, this is a long story, more than 15 years now going on, but from a particular section of...
so you believe there's been this, what, targeted, orchestrated campaign to malign your client?
No doubt, no doubt. I mean, here is it. No one has ever spoken about Judge Krekla's findings, negative findings. No one has spoken about Justice Hlophe, or former Justice Hlophe, deprival of his legal fees when all other parties and all other judges currently are covered by the Justice Department. But when it comes to him, he should not be covered. In fact, Freedom Under Law is the one that is even spearheading the very same depriving of him getting his legal fees.
And he feels quite aggrieved about it. You know, he has said that he feels like he was treated, you know, has been treated like a dog. He has spoken publicly about his own experience, that if you're aligned to former President Jacob Zuma, then in a case you are going to be discarded. And he says what his fight about now is to ensure that he has access, after 29 years of being on the bench, to his benefits, to his leave, and so on. So this is where his fight typically is now resting, well, in what he believes is rightfully due.
Yes. I mean, certainly it's despicable that the National Assembly accepted a decision from an ill-constituted or improperly constituted Judicial Service Commission. These organizations were there. They said nothing about that. They accepted what was basically an invalid decision. And it so happened that the other judge, who's also in this organization called Freedom Under Law, was part of the bench that sat when that matter of whether a decision by a Judicial Service Commission that is not properly constituted is valid or not, is now a member of the Freedom Under Law. He kept quiet, and he is still keeping quiet now in saying, he now has a platform, which is this organization, saying the National Assembly was not supposed to entertain that decision because it was made by an improperly constituted Judicial Service Commission. Right. Besides that, they proceeded to impeach. In impeaching, there were no rules that were been promulgated by the National Assembly. Because if the rules were there, maybe we wouldn't be talking like this, because the rules may have, for instance, said, the moment you're impeached, you can't be a member of the National Assembly. Right. The moment you're impeached, you lose your benefits. In this case, it's a thumbsuck. You lose your benefit. They do whatever they want. Maybe they can even say you go to jail because you've been impeached, when in fact there's no collateral punishment associated with impeachment, which is coded in the laws of this country.
Barnabus, what does the public do? Because we have these institutions that we look at, which we trust to execute their jobs with integrity, right? And it becomes revealing when certain statements around decisions are made. And just bear with me, I want to share something with you. So the perspective of Dr. Hlophe, for example, on the impeachment of former Judge Nkola Motata, he says it's not like Motata went to the court drunk. He was not on duty. It's not as if he put his robes on and went to court. But the Judicial Tribunal found that his conviction on drunk driving wasn't the issue, that the issue was him telling his lawyer to present a defense that he was not drunk. So there's a pollution of the integrity of how that case would have been brought. And then there was another second complaint around racism, around his conduct and the remarks that he made at the scene, which are now widely known. So the tribunal is questioning, what the attitude of that judge in that Motata would have been towards an ordinary person. He talks about an Afrikaner, for example, coming before. The way that Judge Dr. Hlophe views this, and I've mentioned that, jars with what seems to be, a very specific framework of how integrity is defined and understood. And the public says, well, if he's making such a, or has such an impression of the way Motata was treated, how can we trust him to be able to execute on the basis of a legal framework and come to the right decision? Well,
I don't hold any brief for former Justice Motata.
Yeah.
I don't have, and I don't want to comment really around that matter, because I don't know what.
So it's less about Motata, Barnabus. It's more about how Dr. Hlophe views what was wrong there.
Well, I mean. The moment I comment on it, I'll be dealing with the merits, and I don't think it would be fair. I'll be dealing with the merits of that case the way we understood it, because we were following it very closely, and I don't think it would be fair, honestly. I don't think it would be fair that I start getting involved.
All right. So I guess it relates to the question where there might be a perception or a perspective by Dr. Hlophe that may jar with the legal framework or the requirements, yet he is sitting in a position where you're going to make those determinations around who is fit to ascend to the bench.
Like all other participants or officers, commissioners that will be participating in the Judicial Service Commission, there is no one way. There's no one way. For instance, Krekla, you can try and influence everyone, but people have got different views, and they are entitled to those different views. It's the same thing with our client. He's entitled to his different views as long as he's able to substantiate in a justified manner, which is within the law. He's entitled to the views. I mean, we've got freedom of speech in this country that is protected by the Constitution.
Given his views then and his criticism of the JSC and of course the decision that affected his life that was made by the JSC, how does he come to peace with his role on the JSC now?
Well, he is now the member of Parliament, and he has been designated by the National Assembly to form part of it.
Yeah.
When you are a member of National Assembly, you have equal rights like any other. You are eligible to participate in the committees in as much as you are eligible to be regarded as an honorable member because you have taken the oath. Now, to say whatever negative things preempt, in other words, what is going to happen makes one wonder. What else do you know that we don't know what's going to happen in that? Do you have a project that you think maybe is going to be disturbed?
Are you asking me the question?
No, I'm saying those who are saying now,
no,
it doesn't qualify.
I'm going off what you're saying, right? So here's a JSC decision that he is deeply aggrieved by, that he is going to challenge. Here is, as you've just said...
No, he has been stopped from challenging when they stopped making payments for his record. It is challenged, it is under challenge, but the system, having been influenced by people like Justice Krekla, has decided to stop and fast-track this matter to the National Assembly, which was readily prepared also to ignore. So I don't see how that affects his eligibility to participate and become a member of that body. It's a statutory body. And as I said, when we warn the National Assembly that don't rush this matter, you don't even have the rules. How are we going to deal with this situation? It's a new situation, it's a novel kind of a situation. But the way you are handling it, it's like someone is pushing you. And you can only say it was politics that was pushing. That's why the politicians ended up deciding the matter. Now, the politicians now also, they can't swallow what they've created. This is now the next move, that you can't participate in the very body. But impeachment does not come with any punishment.
How soon do you expect that process to go ahead? And this is the challenge, both against the decision of Parliament and also the matter that you're bringing to the Constitutional Court.
Okay, well, maybe let me start by clarifying this. There are members of parliament that have taken parliament to court. We know of number of matters, so it doesn't matter whether you are a member of that body or not to take it to court. It's not these are not voluntary association kind of arrangements. These are statutory bodies which are protected by the Constitution as well. Now, if you ask me how long is it going to take, these matters, Justice Mlambo is a judge, president of the Gauteng High Court. We have complained on several occasions about these matters not getting set down because there have to be a decision around them. In fact, the parties, which include the Department of Justice and the very same Judicial Service Commission, have decided to ignore. They didn't even file anything, but they've been somehow protected. We don't know how they're protected. But the protection that we see is that the matter is just not seeing the light, is not getting set down. Now, in the Constitutional Court, the matter, I think it's now, this was in December. We're still waiting for directives. For 2 matters. Directives have never come up. Now, what is that? We don't know.
So you're seeing another hand at play?
Well, we don't know what is it. I mean, whether Krechla wants to see this matter getting heard so that there is some justice that is being done. We don't. And the law is very clear. If you look at the question of whether the Judicial Service Commission that is improperly constituted can issue a valid decision, Supreme Court of Appeal made it clear it cannot. The decision that has been made by improperly constituted JSC is invalid.
Right.
But here is your National Assembly. Accepts it.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Barnabus, right? So, and the point I was trying to come to earlier is, given these fundamental problems that Dr. Hlophe has with the JSC, the decisions that they've made in the past, what is his role? How does he see his role in the JSC now?
His role is not about adjudicating these cases in the Judicial Service Commission.
But his approach to it. I mean, is he going to be,
I'm sorry. But these cases will be adjudicated in courts, not in the Judicial Service Commission.
Yes.
In the Judicial Service Commission, there are parameters. It's a statutory body that deals with the appointment of judges, that also deals with the disciplining of the
I guess what it is, and pardon my clumsiness then, Barnabus, what I'm trying to say is, when you have a fundamental issue with the body that you're now sitting in, whether or not it's got nothing to do with his matters at this point, as you say, it's being dealt with in the courts, but you have a view on the JSC itself. What is his role? I mean, how does he see his mandate in the JSC? We know what their constitutional mandate is, but is he going to be challenging? Is he going to be calling for reform? I mean, how will we see his role in the JSC play out?
It's all about transformation. Remember, when we started this interview, I told you his mission is transformation and to address the injustices of the past. That's what we are dealing with.
Right.
and whatever the Judicial Service Commission, as the body, we're not talking about individuals here or personal likings and the unhappiness like it is happening. You know, when you are not happy or when you feel a discomfort about him participating in the Judicial Service Commission, it doesn't make it illegal or unlawful that you are not happy. As we can see, you know, Krechla is not happy at all. But it doesn't translate to be injustice. What translates to be injustice is when you now use your economic muscle, because clearly these organizations are well-funded, to attack the dignity of an individual, which is, I mean, protected also in the Constitution. And no one says anything about that. You are allowed to do this because, I mean, all these attacks are just attacked on his dignity.
Right.
These are attacked on his dignity. I mean, you've got criminals that are roaming around, that are occupying serious positions. But you don't hear these organizations saying anything. And it is very clear from our client point of view that this organization, for instance, was purely made to deal with his dignity because there is no law. There's no law with what they're saying.
All right.
Even if you go back to the merits of the very case that, I mean, has made us to discuss this matter. I mean, what merits do you know which does not favor our client? He was once exonerated by the very same Judicial Service Commission.
Barnabus Xulu, we're going to leave it there, and we'll certainly get a right of reply from Justice Krikler as well, Freedom Under Law. As you say, there seems to be this targeted, orchestrated campaign against Dr. Hlophe, and perhaps we'll talk again in future, in the days and weeks ahead. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
Barnabus Xulu, who